Hello and welcome to the Eurogamer News Cast. It's the 3rd of June 2021. My name's Wesley, I'm the editor of Eurogamer, and I'm joined once again by Eurogamer News editor Tom Phillips. Say hello, Tom.
Hello.
And Eurogamer reporter Emma Kent. Say hello, Emma.
Hello.
What a week. Trust Sony to come in and give us plenty to talk about. Perfectly timed ahead of E3. Getting everyone all riled up, all pumped up for the big show. Thank you, Sony. Before we dig into all of that, we must ask what we've been playing. I don't know what to expect this week. Tom, what have you been playing?
Guess what? It's more Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So
I feel like we could have seen that coming, Wes.
now it's Mass Effect 2 and onto the early parts of that, recruiting the first few people. And God, it's just such an incredible game. I just love every minute that I spend.
Seen a lot of screenshots being tweeted from that.
You enjoying that photo mode?
Yeah. I mean, the Mass Effect 2 hasn't had as much of an up-res compared to Mass Effect 1, but it still looks lovely. And it's just, even if you weren't to play it via Legendary Edition, it just still stands up in terms of writing and character. And when you're playing Mass Effect 2, you really are starting to meet like massively important characters, reacquaint yourselves with characters from Mass Effect 1 who come back in surprising ways to deepen the connection that you have, like with people like Garrus, and yeah, you start getting into the real meat of the trilogy in terms of like the big arcs, like the Genophage and stuff like that. It's like every day I'll play a couple of missions. I could play it all day. I really could. I'm trying to ration it out, and it's just like watching a really good hour of a TV show every time that I turn it on. Plus, also scanning planets, which is quite fun
away.
Yeah. I've yet to do the Easter egg where you go into the solar system and probe Uranus. Yeah.
Oh, you said it properly. Emma, I'm so sorry. Look at your face. That is actually a thing.
Okay.
That is a thing. That is a thing you can do in the game.
Yeah, ED's like, really, Shepard?
Yeah, really.
Who wouldn't click on that though?
I know, right? Christ. I've fallen a bit behind you. I'm only an hour and a half, 2 hours into Mass Effect 2. I had to stop to play a game for review, which I'm under embargo, so maybe next week I can talk about that. But what I will say is that going from two things, the start of Mass Effect 2 is brilliant. It's just so good. Like the whole setup is really explosive, really great. Two, rolling straight into Mass Effect 2 from Mass Effect 1, it's just like, it feels like the best thing because the controls are so much better, because it feels more like an actual game. You can move around, you can play without wrestling with your controller. It has reload button. It's not getting you have to actually have ammo. Grenade isn't the back button. It's they really sorted that out for the second one. I know it even improved further for the third one, but it's just such a relief having put. I must have put like 30 odd hours into Mass Effect 1, replaying it just like last few weeks.
Did you find it difficult to like adjust back to normal controls after getting used to Mass Effect 1?
A little bit, actually. Yeah. I found myself reloading all the time for no reason. What I will say is I still think having sprint as hold down X is just X on my controller anyway, so that as default. Like you typically shooters now, you don't, or any sort of game, you don't have a button for one of the face buttons for sprint. It's like a click in a stick or something. So it's still of its time, but it's so much better. And Miranda, oh, I missed you, Miranda. This will mean nothing to you, Emma.
the opening of the game is just like I can only imagine what it must have been like playing that through for the first time
I
and seeing
remember.
the
It was
opening
amazing.
sequence and like Shepard falling through space and the fade to black, and you're like, what?
See, I remember the marketing, and EA really lent in on that, trying to make people think that Shepard was dead. And the
Well, they
Normandy
were.
was, yeah, I mean,
Permanently.
no, they weren't. Of course, Shepard wasn't dead, but
Well, they did
like,
die, but then they came back.
yeah, but you know what I mean, like properly, like it was all like, ooh, Shepard's dead. No, it's like Avengers dead, you know.
The first shot of the new Normandy is one of the best things in any video game. The way it's revealed and scored, the music, the like,
It
it's
is
just
good.
pure nerd nirvana. It's incredible. We should probably talk about some actual news.
I was just thinking, Emma's like, you pack of nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I just want to play it. I don't want to talk to you lot. I just want to play Mass Effect. But I won't. I will ask you, Emma, what you've been playing.
I have finally caved and started playing Titanfall 2.
I thought you were going to say Mass Effect then, but I had a heart attack.
Then there'd be no escape. Basically,
Titanfall
people have
2.
been telling me to play Titanfall 2 for ages because obviously I play a lot of Apex Legends and it makes sense for me to go back, and the campaign for Titanfall 2 is supposed to be really good. And so far it is. Definitely.
I love your route to this. I love your route to this.
It's
You're
all
going from
backwards,
Apex. Yeah.
I feel like
really cool...
I've gone into training or something for this game, and I'm like, whoa, now I'm ready for the campaign. It's quite good though, because I know how all of the guns work, and I'm like, yes, devotion. I grab my favorite gun.
So are you seeing like stuff that you recognize from Apex Legends in Titanfall 2 then?
Yeah,
and
I can see like how they've adapted stuff for Apex, or I'm like, that house looks kind of similar to one that you might get in Apex Legends. And yeah, there's a very like obvious through line you can follow. But it's great because I know how the grenades work and like how the guns
lines
work. And yeah, the only thing that's obviously different is that you get wall running and like double jump kind of stuff, which takes a lot of practice, and a lot of the levels are about getting the wall running right. So I just like falling off stuff quite a lot at the moment, but we'll get better.
Did you spend any time in the gauntlet?
I did spend a little bit of time.
Isn't it amazing? What an incredible thing for us. Just like, while you wait, play the gauntlet.
Yeah, I've no idea how the people who speedrun that and do the like grenade stuff, like I no idea how you do that. I'm just like trying to stay on the walls, like just kind of sliding down.
It's incredible. Some of the speedrunners,
yeah,
the way they blow, they like grenade themselves at the start to build up momentum. It's incredible.
Yeah, if you know the character Octane in Apex Legends doesn't have legs anymore, the lore behind that is that he blew them off when trying to do stunts, and people think that's like a tribute to the people who are doing the grenade speedruns in the in Titanfall 2. No.
Oh wow! I did not know that. Wow.
I think that might have been officially confirmed. I'm not sure, but that's what people thought. It was a nod to.
Wow. I'm going to be that annoying person. If you've spoken to anyone who's played Titanfall 2, they'll have said, have you played the level yet? You will know what I'm talking about. So your face tells me you have not played the level yet.
I've done like a level where I've basically been like shaken up inside a doll's house on a factory line. No,
mate, you ain't there yet.
Yeah.
You'll know.
You'll know. There's just, I can't. I would kill. I would let you kill me if I spoiled it for you. Tom, don't say anything.
Look, next week we'll try and discuss it.
Yeah, you must talk to Donlan about it as well once you have. He'll talk about that level for hours on end. It's one of the greatest video game levels of all time. Easy. Oh wow, you've got that. Watching someone do this for the first, great. It's like I guess people play Mass Effect for the first time, right? Where you're like, you know what they're gonna experience, and you're like, yeah, I'm really excited for you to see what the fuss is about. Shame there's never gonna be another Titanfall again, eh?
Maybe they'll put some single player levels into Apex.
It's not the same. It's not the same. I mean, it will sort of be okay, I guess, but it's not the same. See, everyone's playing Titanfall 2 now. Where were you? Huh? When they needed you.
Well,
When
they're here now because it's on
EA's
Game
shareholders
Pass.
needed you.
I'm playing it through the Game Pass thing. It's been very useful, actually.
I bet there's a lot of people experiencing it for the first time, which is good. Right. Let's talk about Sony. Sony this week published on their blog an interview with Herman Holst. Herman Holst is the boss of PlayStation Studios. And there was a lot of news in this interview. This effectively, scripted interview that Sony has done with itself. This isn't a journalist they've asking tough questions or anything. Sony had things wanted to talk about. They dressed it up as like a little interview, and there's a lot. So, God of War, the next God of War, is delayed to 2022. Let's start there because I think that's an easy one for us to get through. I'm guessing no surprises. No. Everyone was expecting this, weren't they?
Well, we hadn't really heard anything about it, and it's like probably would have been now or at E3, but it got ahead of
Sony's
that.
not doing E3.
Yeah, that's true.
But we can talk about E3 in a bit. But yeah, so no surprises there. So we can move swiftly on. I mean, Herman Holst is talking about the challenges that they've run into over the last year with coronavirus and lockdowns. And he does, talk about some of those challenges. He says that performance capture for a lot of the cinematics with multiple actors has been a real challenge. And we've heard this from other developers, haven't we, working on story-based games where they've got cutscenes and stuff. It's not just Sony that's run into this problem. This has been a big problem for a lot of games over the last 18 or so months. So that makes sense, especially when you consider God of War is a single-player story-driven game. So, and then Horizon Forbidden West, which he says they're still targeting as coming out in time for Christmas this year. But the way he's talking about it, I'm not, I'm feeling like that could be delayed. So that's the first question. Do we think that is going to come out this year, Tom?
I think it will. I think that PlayStation will do everything it can to ensure it's their big Christmas game, their big game for the end of 2021, and they are roping in other studios for support. I've heard they are really pushing behind the scenes to get it out this year. Obviously, they don't want to make any cast iron promises because things are still up in the air a little bit as to how things are going to go the rest of this year. And the last thing they want to do is contribute to developer stress by putting that release date out there right now. I don't think they need to. I think it's quite smart of them to just give themselves that leeway. But I think they really want it to be this year, if possible. And it's just a matter of
Christmas game.
Like throwing resources at it to make it get there safely.
Emma, you feeling like this is coming out this year?
Yeah, I think so. Basically, same as what Tom said. I think they do need a big Christmas game, and also, just something to really justify all the people getting PS5 at the moment to have a game that just looks really spectacular on it. I think it's important.
Yeah, I'm with you both on that. I think they'll be desperate, absolutely desperate, to get this out for Christmas. I can't see anything else taking its place. Before we get to the real talking point, I want to praise Sony for one thing. In explaining the delay for God of War and the challenges they've faced around the development and coronavirus and all the rest, Herman Holst has a quote here saying, "With these things, something's got to give. It cannot be the quality of our titles, and it surely won't be the health or the well-being of our amazing team." And I read that and was like, nice one. Yep. That is the right attitude I to crunch to get these games out in 2021 after what's happened in 2020. No, absolutely not. Now I know this is what he's saying in this interview that Sony has done with itself. Hopefully that the studios are that is actually the reality. But I'm gonna just take that face value at this point. So well done for that. That is the right thing to do. Now, let's talk about the wrong thing to do. Everyone has been going nuts about Sony's announcement in this interview that God of War, the new God of War, is also coming to PS4, and Gran Turismo 7 is also coming to PS4. Now, I think it's important I just read out his quote because I don't want anyone to take it. I want everyone to understand exactly what he's said about why these games are also coming to PS4. You can't build a community of over 110 million PS4 owners and then just walk away from it, right? I think that'd be bad news for fans of PS4 and frankly not very good business. Where it makes sense to develop a title for both PS4 and PS5, for Horizon Forbidden West and the next God of War, GT7, we'll continue looking at that. And if PS4 owners want to play that game, then they can. If they want to go and play the PS5 version, that game will be there for them. That being said, it's also very important to have showpieces for PS5, hence the development of Returnal and Ratchet that are exclusive to PS5. Now, I think it's fair to say that this has ruffled a few feathers. Let's explain why. Emma, why is everyone upset?
I mean, yeah, I was off yesterday reading like manga on the beach, but even I saw.
That is so on brand.
Even I saw, some of the reactions to that. I opened Twitter and was like, "Oh golly,
oh golly,
oh golly, gosh, something has happened." I guess it's the same thing as with Battlefield, isn't it? People are worried that if you try and make a game work on PlayStation 4, then it's not going to be as good or like mind-blowing on the next generation, and people don't want games to feel like they're being held back, particularly if you've managed to get one of the PS5 consoles. I kind of wonder when they made this decision because, like if there are still stocking issues with the PS5, it would make sense to have it on both consoles, but I wonder if like this would have been something that might have been brewing from further back that Sony just hasn't discussed yet.
Tom, what do you reckon?
Why do I think people are upset? Well, I mean, a lot of people are upset for very silly reasons, and obviously Sony is able to release its games when and wherever it wishes to, and there are lots of good reasons to put these games on PS4 as well. But I do sympathize a little bit with people who feel a bit like mugs because they rushed out to buy a PlayStation 5 thinking that this was the only place that they were going to be able to play upcoming games from PlayStation Studios. Maybe not at launch. Not everything was exclusive to PS5 at launch, but certainly a year, 2 years down the line. And, you can look back on that infamous quote about we believe in generations and take it one way or take it the other. But a lot of people did take it one way. And now I think I don't disagree with the perception that quote wasn't entirely accurate. So I think people don't like the feeling that they believed one thing and actually, I think it has not turned out that way down the line. Now, plans change and no one could have foreseen everything that happened in 2020, of course. But I have to feel like if this was a different company, then they'd be handling all of this a lot better and you wouldn't have had as much of a reaction as you had last night. They would have not shoved it in the middle of a scripted interview, in the middle of a sentence where it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, GT7 is coming out on PS4 now. Well, they don't even say that, and everyone's pointing to the screenshot from, a few months back where it says PlayStation 5 exclusive on the footage of GT7. talk through your processes, explain to people why
It's
this
a
is
big
happening.
announcement. It's
Yeah,
a big
and they've
announcement.
just shoved it out, and they've just tried to, you know,
they're hoping that people wouldn't notice.
play it down.
I don't know.
It's just a silly way to do it. I think that if you just be honest with people, that's all that people want.
Yeah, I think there's hypocrisy. They're going to be accused of hypocrisy. Not just because of Jim Ryan's, you know, "We believe in generations" quote, which will haunt him for the rest of his career. Like that is a career-defining quote now. "We believe in generations" is going to go down with the TV Microsoft stuff as, you know, a video game industry quote for the ages. They were advertising GT7 relatively recently as a PS5 exclusive. So if it's also coming to PS4, you do not put that in a line in a weird interview that you've done with yourself on your blog. You making a big announcement. Where is Kaz Yamauchi? Like, why hasn't he gone message to fans? Look, you know, I want to reassure you that GT7 is going to be all singing, all dancing on PS5. But the fact of the matter is, you know, we need to make this for PS4 as well because of the current situation, the current climate. We can't get enough PS5s into people. All like, you go, all right, mate.
I think people would have understood. You know,
Yeah,
you
you
can
go,
see that
right.
people understood with God of War. I don't know why it's like they took that approach of being very transparent on one thing and then not on the other, and it just doesn't come across well. I feel like they could possibly do a blog post now, but then again, it's just being reactionary rather than getting ahead of it and just being open from the start and just being like, look, our plans have changed. Sorry about that.
Especially for a game like GT, which is so often the graphical showcase that is released to really, really show off what your console can do.
I don't know. This is speculation, but I bet he's pissed. I bet Kaz is pissed at this. I bet like he was like, yeah, I'm going to make the best racing game of all time for PS5. And they've gone, you have to make it PS4 as well. And he's gone, fuck. Like, because imagine what things he's been thinking about doing, you know, imagine what his work, the you know, what ideas he's had. There's like, I think, I personally don't think there's any way that a game cannot be held back if it's being made for multiple platforms and one is more less powerful. And it's not just less powerful, it's fundamentally different because the PS5 has got the SSD tech that Sony's banged on about for so many months in the run up to the release of the console as being like one of the defining features of it. It's Ratchet is a PS5 exclusive. Like you can't do PS4 Ratchet because it's got all this SSD stuff.
Another thing that's quite surprising to me is they're announcing this now after Cyberpunk, which is the, you know, the archetypal game which should not have released on the older gen consoles because it will never be able to get to that level. It's just technically impossible. It seems like for it to get to the level where Sony won't even let it back on its store. And I just, you know, GT7 in 2022 is still going to run on a PlayStation 4 that came out, you know, when did PlayStation 4, the base PlayStation
2013. 4? Christmas 2013.
A 9-year-old piece of console hardware. What is that going to look like?
This is why I'm like, Kaz is probably like, what?
So I know that Sony wants to, you know, sell discs and PlayStation 4 still has a huge audience and everything, but what kind of game are you releasing for these people in 2022 that can fit on 9-year-old hardware? How is that going to look? How is that going to work? We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
The thing, like, Sony is just on a tear. Like the internet is losing its mind over this, but everyone's going to buy these games anyway. Like, you know, everyone's complaining. I imagine Horizon will be an enormous game. God of War will be an absolutely enormous game. GT will probably be one of the biggest GTs for years. So, despite everything, they're probably like, well, we're still making incredible amounts of money from our plan. We just got to stay the course. It just feels like they really need to communicate better. They need to work out a way to stop pissing everyone off.
I do feel like they do listen to feedback when it gets really bad, though. We saw that with like the PS3 store, that they did do a complete U-turn on it. So I wonder if maybe they will take this on board and
they're not going to
discuss stuff.
They're not going to cancel PS4
Oh no,
version.
they're not going to change it. But I think maybe they'll at least discuss it a bit more, maybe, or in future they'll be a bit better at flagging it and explaining it up front. I would hope.
I would hope there are learnings from this internally on how to message changes such as this, and not to try and just brush off things that you have already released publicly, like a Grand Theft Auto, a GT7 trailer with a watermark that says PS5 exclusive. Just, it's clearly not addressing that is a bad thing to do.
Plans change. We're adults. We can take it.
Some of us on the internet are, not everybody. But then for those people who aren't adults on the internet, it's far worse. And you're just, obviously you can't be responsible for those people, but like, it doesn't make the situation any better. When you
don't explain yourself and you don't address it properly, and you don't give these announcements the respect they deserve, you open yourself up to accusations of lying, because it makes you look like this was the plan all along, and you're somehow trying to hide how bad it is. When I bet it Gran Turismo 7 wasn't meant for PS4 initially. So just be honest. Just just address the difficult things that have occurred, because life changes and the world changes. I feel like we can all have a mature reaction to these sort of things. I don't know what they're afraid of.
Or they just don't care. It's not a fear.
Or they just don't care because they know
it will sell. This will piss off some people on the internet for a day. They put it out before E3. Everyone will be talking about something else next week.
Right. So Emma, you touched on this earlier. The question, irrespective of the way this looks, the one thing that as you say, people are worried about is, will the game be held back by the fact that it's on last gen? Now, do you think, given that we've seen Horizon Forbidden West in action now, like we've actually seen gameplay of that, do you think that anyone is going to feels like that game is held back in any way?
I don't know really.
Because to me it looks incredible.
It looks really nice. I don't know. I guess like the main thing is going to be loading times on PS4 won't be as good, but to me it's not. I don't get so upset about this, I guess, as some people might. I'm just like, oh, okay, that's a shame. Maybe it won't be quite as good as it could have been if it was just on the new console. But I don't know. I'm more interested in like story design and kind of how mechanics feel, rather than maybe if it's got the first.
Okay, well let's talk about Ratchet, because I think Ratchet is a really interesting example.
A better example.
Because the stuff that Ratchet is doing that you just can't do on PS4, and if they had to make that for PS4, then it wouldn't be the same game. I think everyone would agree with that. So game design it has to be affected. Like, you're not getting the game that it could have been because it's coming out on and this isn't just Sony. Like Microsoft, I think Halo. I'm worried about Halo for this reason as well, because Halo has to work on Xbox One, a base Xbox One. Like,
this
Halo
is
Infinite.
the stuff that when Mark Cerny was talking to his virtual avatar audience in that presentation, he was talking about, and he was saying how games will be freed up by the fact that PlayStation 5 architecture works in a specific way to build games that just technically were impossible to do beforehand, like we've seen with Ratchet. And also you could say like with Astrobot as well, because it makes sense of the DualSense.
And Returnal to a degree as well, I think.
But you know, Sony's almost going against what it said itself in this regard by making these announcements with things like GT and God of War.
Mm, mm. Well, it's going to be really interesting when Sony feels comfortable enough to show God of War and GT7, because everyone is going to look at those games and think, are they held back? Like, that's just the question they're going to face now.
I think also post Cyberpunk, they have to show the old versions of the game as well. People will expect to see those. There can be no hiding of how those games will run on old hardware now. I think post Cyberpunk, people will be very expectant to see, you know, you're sending me this with a PS5 trailer, okay, but I have a base PS4 from launch. How is it going to work on my machine? People are very aware of that now, and I hope that Sony are as open as possible with that.
And Microsoft, like they came out a while ago and said, the first 2 years, everything's going to be on everything. They were very open about that. And so when we see their press conference, and we should start talking about E3, Microsoft's press conference for E3, and they show Halo Infinite, which they will obviously show Halo Infinite. It's their big Christmas game. I'm going to be looking at that, wondering what is that going to look like in Xbox One, and they have an obligation, I think, to not hide that away. If it's a game they're releasing, they need to show it. So it'll be really interesting to see how these games end up looking, and how they sort of frame their gameplay reveals. Let's move on to E3. We may as well talk about Microsoft. Halo Infinite is a given. I think we can all agree on that. What else are we expecting to see? Emma, you got any ideas? Anything you'd like to see? Oh, it's the Microsoft and Bethesda showcase. Sorry,
That's true.
I should describe it as such, because that's what they've said it is. It's not just Microsoft. It's Microsoft and Bethesda.
They're really rubbing that in, aren't they? Like, oh yeah, look at us both together. I'd like to see some Starfield.
Yeah.
But like even a little glimpse of it being
Do we
live.
think Starfield gameplay at E3?
I don't think gameplay, but I think it might be more like a little announcement, introduction trailer, a bit CG, but I think that'd be cool. I'm not sure. I don't want to get my expectations too high this year, because E3 just feels like a really, I don't know, it doesn't feel very set. It's kind of just a collection of things that are happening. And
yeah, because it's all virtual, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, Tom, what do you think we'll see at Microsoft Showcase? Microsoft and Bethesda's showcase.
Minecraft 2. I don't know. Outer Worlds.
Like
Outer Worlds 2.
Outer
Maybe
Worlds
that.
2.
Yeah, maybe that. Halo.
That's true. Halo will be there.
I think Starfield has to be a part of it. Like there's been a lot of chat about whether it will launch this side of Christmas or not, but I would expect to see some of that there. I think Microsoft will want to show off something from Bethesda to kind of almost, be like, look, this is what we spent our money on. It's been long enough now. They need to prove to fans that it was worth it, and to the top brass, because they can point at the fans getting all excited about Starfield, which of course will be announced for Xbox and PC and not PlayStation, and they can point to that reaction and say, look, we spent our money wisely, all the people are happy. So I think yeah, Starfield will be there in some shape or form.
Do you think it's too early for Perfect Dark?
Well, we've kind of already seen it. Do you mean gameplay? I think probably, yeah. And they have so many other like bits and pieces being worked on. Like I think Everwild is a bit too far off to be seen, but we might see Avowed. and there's always Fable. So I would expect to see a little something there. It feels like that's the sort of E3 is the time of year that we check in on these big projects, even if
I haven't heard
still
much
far
about Fable for a while as well. Just a little reminder, it's still going.
Forza, maybe?
Yeah, Forza is a good shout.
Okay. I'm expecting a relatively strong showing from them, just because they own so many studios now. It's kind of hard for them not to have a good.
Where's Fallout
show.
New Vegas 2? When is it happening?
That's the only reason you would care. Yeah, I'm guessing Psychonauts 2 will be a part of it as well, because I think that's coming out relatively soon, so I'll probably pick that up. Okay. Nintendo Direct has been announced for a little later than normal. I think it's the 15th of June. I should have said that the Microsoft and Bethesda showcase is the 13th. Tom, you wrote this story. What has Nintendo said to expect it to be?
They said 40 minutes, mostly focusing on games coming out in 2021, which means that there will be something there that's not coming out in 2021. Now, is that Legend of Arceus? Arceus.
Thank you.
Probably that'll be there. Yeah. Or is it Breath of the Wild 2? Is that going to make 2021? That's something that we need to find out the answer to finally. And if it is 2022, what else are they going to bring out before Christmas? Because
they got Pokemon remakes, haven't they?
Yeah, but that's the lesser of the two is out before Christmas. And if Zelda isn't this year, they will want something else out. And I am wearing a Metroid t-shirt. So I would hope to see something to do with Metroid there as well.
Anything you're particularly excited about Nintendo showing, Emma, as a Switch owner?
No. I don't know. I will see what gets shown.
Fire Emblem.
That's true. They did have like a little anniversary edition of Fire Emblem, like the original, earlier this year, but otherwise it's been kind of quiet.
You're into the Pokemon remakes, aren't you? So if they show those, I suppose you'd be.
Yeah, that's true. I am excited about Pearl and Diamond and Arceus.
Good. I mean,
want to see this old-fashioned style Pokemon.
I think it would be fantastic if they showed off Breath of the Wild 2. I mean, that's what E3 is all about. If they do an E3 the way E3 should be done, then it should be last thing, on the show, gameplay.
I hope it's the first thing. I think they need to open with it. I think they need to go in strong, and that's what everybody's expecting. And then the last thing is something that you're not. This year has to be Breath of the Wild. I mean, they've said that they'll talk more about Breath of the Wild 2 this year. But it's the 35th anniversary this year. It has to happen.
It would be super cool to see that gameplay of that. Elsewhere, E3 is sort of scattershot, isn't it? Jeff Keighley's doing a Summer Game Fest where there'll be some announcements from various companies, Capcom, Square Enix, doing various little things, Gearbox doing something. E3 is different, isn't it? It just feels like just all the companies are going to put a video out with some announcements around about the same time, and that's E3 this year.
I have quite low expectations. I think it honestly might end up being the worst of both worlds. Like it's digital, so we don't get like the physical hands-on access to things. We can't tell people how things actually feel to play, and there's no physical event tying it all together, which means that companies are still kind of just doing their own thing, even though the ESA, the people who organize E3, really, really want there to be like a structure to everything. The timetable that they put out today is just so vague. The only defined times on it are the ones set out by Ubisoft, Xbox,
Ubisoft,
and Nintendo already. And otherwise, it's just watch our meandering stream for 8 hours every day from Saturday through through Tuesday. And Gearbox will pop up at some point, Square Enix will pop up at some point, Warner Brothers will pop up at some point. That's just no, like digital events don't do that. But because you're a physical event, because you're trying to be one, you think that you can just take up an entire day's worth of everybody's time for 4 days running. Yeah, and the less said about their E3 app, the better.
Yeah,
but there's a lounge, and you can have a profile picture.
Yeah, there's forums, so I can go back to being like in 20,005.
20,005. I mean, we'll be dead by then. Which is probably how we'll feel after. Yeah, next week. Very briefly on Ubisoft, since they are doing a press conference, they've named and dated it. We should talk very briefly about what we expect them to show. There's no Assassins this year, so Far Cry will be the main thing they're selling this at E3 this year.
Yeah, there's that. There's Rainbow Six Quarantine or whatever it ends up
Oh
being called.
yes.
We still don't know amount about that. There's the sporty game that's not Steep 2, but is basically Steep 2, whose name I've just forgotten.
I have no idea what that is.
Roller Champions, I think it's called. I'd like to think there's some surprises as well. It was quite surprising this week when they just announced that random zombies mode for Watch Dogs. So maybe there'll be.
Could there be a big reveal for a new Assassin's expansion, perhaps?
Maybe. The scuttlebutt is that Vikings was so successful that the post-launch support will continue through 2022 as well as 2021. They could just show the second big expansion, which is set in Paris. We haven't really
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we haven't really seen anything about it, but it's supposed to be out in the summer, so the trailer for that seems pretty likely.
Cool.
Probably nothing on Beyond Good and Evil 2, and we'll have to see if Skull and Bones makes the cut.
This isn't an E3 press conference, but EA this week dated their reveal for Battlefield, and there seems to be a lot more interest in this Battlefield than the last couple. Just the way the way it feels online. So that's going to be really interesting to see. We talked a bit about Battlefield last week, so that's good. Yeah, I've got this morbid fascination with Halo Infinite this year.
And they're going to show Craig's makeover.
Craig's
I really hope
makeover,
that they show him. Please.
They've got to lean into it. They've got to lean into it. It's a nice humanizing thing, right? That's the way to do it. Just own it. Yeah, so Halo Infinite, just because I'm a big Halo fan and I want it to be good, and I want to have a reason to get back into Halo. But also the fact that it's coming out on Xbox One terrifies me. Dread to think on that console.
Halo has never been a graphical showcase, has it? It's always been about it's tuned to performance, like the feel of the combat.
It's an Xbox One, Tom. It's like
and the original Halo came out on the original Xbox. I think you just have to accept that graphics aren't going to be the most important thing in this game. Well,
we'll find out, hopefully. All right, that was fun. Going through all of the week's news. But let's be honest, the reason we're here is for the mug check. Emma, before we started recording, you said that you remembered at the last minute about the mug check, which I cannot believe, and ran downstairs to get one. So what did you pluck?
Well, I said I ran out of mugs because I was just I threw open the cupboard and I was like, no, I've been through all of the different mugs. So now I just got a very boring but classy glass mug.
Wow.
With water.
You've just got a glass of water. You've just got a glass of water, Emma.
Mm. It's still a mug. You could put coffee in it.
Well, we did say, didn't we? We said that if you can drink from it, it counts.
Did we say that?
Yeah, we did. It doesn't have
Eurogamer's definition of a mug.
It doesn't have to be a mug anymore.
My mug is actually just my outstretched hand, which I'm going to drink from. That's
All
my
right.
mug this week.
All right. The
Pour
rule
hot
is
coffee into it.
somebody would, and nobody would do that. So, all right. Terrible start. It can only get better from here.
Wow.
It's just a glass.
I think it's nice.
Tom.
We're on to London Tube puns. So Piccadilly Circus. I have a set of these, and they're all like food or drink themed puns on tube stations or places in London. So here we go. The first of those. Look forward to more installments in coming weeks. Piccadilly Circus.
What has this become?
Wow, a vast improvement on my glass mug.
Yes, because it's a mug.
Wow. I never intended for this to get competitive.
It's not really a competition, is it? If only one person turns up with a mug.
Last Saturday.
Here we go.
Oh God, it's got a backstory.
Yeah, last Saturday Chelsea won the Champions League, and I did say that I did warn, I should say, that I would celebrate that. So you might have noticed that I'm wearing my Chelsea top.
Oh, you got a little sticker on it. That's nice.
Oh, jeez. And you probably already noticed that I brought my Chelsea mug on. I'm so deliriously happy.
You look
even now.
Is that a cat with a stick on the logo?
No, it's not a cat with a stick. Can you make it out?
It's a lion with a stick.
One of those things that you put in cocktails, like a stirrer.
I'm not listening to this. I'm too happy to be dragged down by you two. Chelsea won the Champions League. The biggest club football match in the world. Nothing you can say about my mug will affect my mood. I haven't actually taken this top off since Saturday. I don't think I'll ever take it off again. So look forward to seeing me in this every newscast for the rest of the time. That's a joke. To confirm, this is a joke. I will take it off. Right. Tom. I can't think of a way to insult you about things. So what is your Twitter handle?
It is @TomPhillipsEG.
Oh, actually, yeah. For more Mass Effect photo mode screenshots, that's where people should go.
Legit.
And for more, I've been playing Titanfall 2. Isn't it amazing? 5 years late to the party tweets from Emma.
At Gonnie FK.
And for more wonderful, upbeat, celebratory Chelsea tweets, go to @WYP100. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.